Thank you for coming out. In a minute, we're going to have Chief Subi do a prepared statement, but I just wanted to introduce everyone to you before we got started. We have the mayor here, Ben Nadolski. The last name spelling is Nadolski. Mara Brown, MaraBrown. Chief Jake Subi, Sube. Chief Mike Matthew, Mathieu. Deputy Chief Shelby Willis, Willis. Deputy Chief Mike Slater. Kevin Brown, the Fire Marshal. And Kai Safston, that's Kaisafsten. He's the group supervisor from the ATF. Now that you know who's here, I'm going to go ahead and give the podium to Chief Subi, who will provide a prepared statement, and then there'll be time for questions after.
Thanks, everybody. As mentioned, I'm Jake Subi, the Chief of Police for Ogden City Police Department. I've prepared a statement here for all of you today. The purpose of this press release is to provide an update on the fire that occurred on January 25th at approximately 4:30 in the afternoon at a property under construction at 255 22nd Street, which is just directly south of the public safety building here. Initial details regarding that fire response and safety measures taken during the firefighting efforts were shared during a press conference held by the Ogden City Fire Department on Sunday, January 26th. At the time of that briefing, the cause of the fire was unknown. Our investigation team has since determined that the fire was intentionally set, a fact which renders the act a crime of arson. Once that determination was made, the investigations team set out to identify an individual or individuals responsible. The team included representatives from the Ogden City Police Department's Investigations Bureau, our Area Tactical Analysis Center, as well as the Ogden Fire Marshal, the State Fire Marshal, the ATF, the Transit Authority Police Department, Weber County CSI, and the Weber County Attorney's Office. So it was a very large contingency of individuals that began diligently working and investigating this case. Through their meticulous and relentless investigation efforts, a 16-year-old male was identified as the suspect. Earlier today at approximately 12:50 p.m., the suspect was taken into custody without incident. Although not an Ogden resident, we have confirmed that the suspect attends a school here in Ogden. He is being booked into the Weber Valley Youth Detention Center on 3 second-degree felony charges. Those include arson, causing a catastrophe, and criminal mischief. At this time, the suspect's identity will not be released due to his status as a juvenile. While an arrest has been made, the investigation remains active and further details cannot be shared to protect the integrity of the case and the integrity of the future prosecution. Additional details may be released as the investigation progresses. The Ogden Police Department remains committed to transparency and to the safety of our community and its residents. We ask the community's patience and trust as we conduct this investigation, and we do want to make sure that you all are aware that we do not believe there are any other outstanding suspects. We believe the suspect acted alone. I do want to say that this case highlights the proficiency and dedication of the first responders, investigators, and our professional partners, both local and federal, to safeguarding the citizens and community of Ogden. The successful resolution of this case could not have been possible if not for the coordinated and collaborated effort of all those involved. As the chief, I have to say I am extremely proud of the work that was conducted in such a timely manner to bring a resolution to this case. It is a testament to the men and women of the Ogden City Police Department and the Ogden Fire Department, and to those who partner with us to bring this to conclusion. With that, I don't have any real other specific information related to the case because it is ongoing, but I am happy to attempt to answer questions. So bear in mind I may not be able to, but I will be happy to answer what I can. Yes.
Let's start with the question we all want to ask is, what can you tell us? I mean, how do you know that it was a 16-year-old? Was there video surveillance footage? And do you have an origin site? Do you know how he did it?
Yeah, I know the investigation did determine an origin site of where the fire began. We have many investigative methods that were utilized to determine who the suspect was in this case. Again, for the integrity of the case, I don't feel confident in providing that out to the public at this time. I think it's important that we maintain the integrity of the investigation. I do commit that in the future, as we progress further into the investigation, when we can put that information out, we'll make sure that we do. But there are a lot of investigators involved, as I've mentioned, all of the different individuals that participated in this investigation, and then a myriad of tools and resources that we have at our disposal to identify individuals that are involved in criminal acts like this. We are a progressive, forward-thinking police department that is going to utilize every tool reasonable and possible to us to find people that are doing and committing acts of crime in Ogden.
Is this, after a few days finding out or thinking you know who did it, is this pretty quick usually for an arson type of investigation? Where does this kind of usually fall in?
Yeah, it's tough to say because every investigation is different, and they bring their own challenges, right? And so it's hard to say. Some cases are going to take a lot more time and be a lot more difficult. But what I will say is our investigative techniques, our methods, our tools have grown and enhanced so much that I believe we're a lot more rapid in being able to identify potential suspects, and then the tools we can use to then help pinpoint who that individual is and take action. So as I mentioned, I couldn't be more proud of the work that was done. I think people and individuals in this department, as well as partnering agencies, work tirelessly, not sleeping, to try to find a resolution to this case. Because we understand when these things happen, it creates concern and probably some panic to the public. And it's our job to settle that and to resolve these as quick as we possibly can to alleviate that. We also have a lot of other buildings under construction out there. We want to make sure that we can protect those individuals and those organizations that are building those different facilities as well, so that if there is somebody out there that is committing an act like arson, we need to get them off the street as quickly as possible.
Can we speak to costs and damages? We know that, there's this property, but there's other neighboring businesses and properties that were damaged. What kind of damages did they sustain, and how much is this going to cost?
Yeah, right now I couldn't give you a dollar amount on the damage. Obviously, the structure that was set on fire is effectively a complete loss, and there's going to be a substantial dollar amount associated with the loss of that structure. The surrounding buildings, we'll know in the coming days of what the total amount that is. There's still a lot of assessing and assessment that has to be done. I know at the fire department's press release, they spoke to that a little bit on Sunday. About assessing the damage and the total of it, of what that will be. So right now I can't give you, but I do believe it's going to be significant and easily, like most of the charges that this individual is being booked in with are felonies, second-degree felonies. And when you talk about criminal mischief or causing a catastrophe, you have to hit a certain dollar amount, and those aren't as significant as this damage would be. So it's the highest level of causing a catastrophe or criminal mischief that somebody could be charged with. So it is significant.
Can you just remind us what those buildings were? What was it, like an IRS building, a school, the Da Vinci School? What other?
Yeah, we do have the Da Vinci schools that are that flank both sides of the structure that burned. Across the street to the east is the IRS building that did sustain some damage, and then there's some other properties within that block, some of which have businesses in them, and others are businesses that are being renovated and worked on. So several of those buildings that are in that exact block there in the 2200 block.
And what was it? Was it just the heat from the flames that damaged those windows? Like what? I'm just trying to picture how bad this was to make it all the way across the street.
Yeah, a fire like that puts off immense heat. And then on top of that, it is going to expel a lot of ash and other particles that then can spread and create fire and damage well away from where the origin of the fire occurs. I'm definitely not a fire expert, but I absolutely know that those things are going to happen, especially when you look at the weather that day. It was heavily windy. It's be ignitable cause damage.
Chief, a pretty big fire with images behind you. We were told earlier that there were no injuries reported. Is that still the case, that no one was physically hurt during all this?
Correct. No, yep, there were crews working on that structure earlier in the morning. They had left the structure well before this occurred. And then in the neighboring businesses at this point, nobody's come forward, or we've had nobody come forward with injuries.
How
Thankfully.
thankful are you that, something like this happened and that everyone's okay physically?
Say that, I'm sorry.
How thankful are you that, no one was hurt during what could have been a pretty bad situation?
Yeah, if there's any silver lining, that's it. And there's not many when you're talking about a situation like this. But when we can walk away from something this significant and have nobody injured, and have a resolution so quickly, it to me that's all we can ask for in a very difficult and hard situation, is that exact thing. So.
With Ogden, with the way that it's growing, a lot of new construction, new apartment buildings like this, anything in the future that you're planning to do to try to increase security or help make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, well, obviously we're going to be putting out a message to our officers to have heightened security and patrols of those structures that are under construction currently. That's going to be a real point for us moving forward. We're also working with the fire department and other city departments on how to protect those businesses, even working with the businesses and the contractors building them, with putting measures in place to help protect those structures and prevent these things from happening. It is a risk, and there is a period of time where it becomes more risky. We talked this morning about having some notifiers to the police department of when we need to be more heightened and have more heightened awareness of where those projects are in their life of being built, and that we can provide the right resources at the right time.
I have a question. This might be better suited for the mayor. So before, months back during the summer, there was concerns from parents at Da Vinci about that specific area and the safety concerns of building an apartment complex there. Now, obviously, no one could have thought that it was going to catch on fire or, might there be arson or something like that. But I know people are concerned now, seeing that it affected the school. I know there's a petition going around asking that Lotus there doesn't rebuild and all that kind of stuff. But I just want to know if you have anything to say to people. Has there already been discussions about the future of that building, or just that area that has caused some parents to be concerned?
Sure. Excuse me. The safety concerns that were brought up in the past were largely related to how to route traffic, etc. Thankfully, we had a really collaborative dynamic between the school's administration and our administration. We had the chief and deputy chief of police themselves participating and helping to formulate a route to make sure that kids could be picked up and dropped off safely, etc. And so certainly we got through that safely, and that is a testament to the spirit of collaboration that we bring to everything that we do here in the city. So this is a completely different situation in terms of public safety risk and safety concerns. So as it relates to the project, this is an entitled project on private property. There's private property rights that are entitled that most likely will proceed no matter what. That is elements of the law, and I can consult with our legal attorneys or legal department to make sure that that is the case. But right now we're focused solely on the site, clearly focused on the incident, and now we're focused on the investigation. And the rest of our administration is working collaboratively to support these guys to make sure that they have what they need to keep other sites within the city safe, including this one. And if there's any other things that we can do in the future moving forward, there'll be time for that. And we won't leave any stone unturned. Public safety is our number one priority. Thanks.
Through this process, did you get a count of how many sites are under construction? Like, as you guys have been chatting, what's the number? What are you guys looking at here in Ogden?
I don't know. I don't have that information right here. We did talk about that specifically today as part of this investigation, is clearly identifying all of the structures that are in any stage of construction within the city, making sure that the police department is aware of those structures, where they're located, kind of a notification system so that our watch commanders are aware when they're in their most vulnerable state. So those things are all being worked on and put in place and implemented, and hopefully we'll have that done relatively quickly.
Do you have a ballpark figure?
There's probably, I would say there's probably close to 10 projects that are going on, and just to give you an idea of the concern we've had and discussions we've had, is that there's a lot of measures you can deploy to try to protect these buildings or harden them from unauthorized access, and that's one of the biggest concerns. One of the things we're finding out with some of the new technology that's available, what it's turning out, as the police chief will tell me, is he says that it's great for evidentiary after the fact. It's not as good for deterrence before the act. And so one of the things we want to do is sit down with some of the developers and talk to them about, we have some regulatory mechanisms as a local government, whether it be building department, fire department, police department. We have some regulatory mechanisms. Instead of just deploying those one-sided, we'd rather sit down with the developers and talk and determine what's the best way to prevent unauthorized access. What we've found, we've had a couple of these within the community, and what I can reasonably say right now, that all of those were started by unauthorized people at the sites. So how do we better harden those facilities while under construction to prevent unauthorized access is our goal. And so what we're finding out is 6-foot fencing, motion detectors, heat detectors, cameras, it's insufficient. It might be great after the fact for evidence gathering, but it's not great for preventing if someone wants to get in there and do something such as what they're doing here.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
Can you say yes, no, or no comment whether this aspect was connected with Da Vinci Academy?
Right now, I can't provide that information just as the investigation is ongoing. Like I said, as we get further into this, hopefully we'll be able to provide additional details as long as we're sure it won't compromise investigation and prosecution.
Did we understand correctly, though, you said that you don't live in the city?
Correct.
Do you know what city?
Yes.
Will you tell us what city?
Yeah, they live in Roy. Yeah. Other questions? Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you.